My name is Hanan Shabazz, and this is home. I've lived here all of my life, except for a few years around in other places, New York and other places. I've lived on Depot Street, and I still currently right now live on Blanton Street, right here in Southside. Oh gosh, there's so many memories, many memories. Memories of people that are no longer here that actually helped me grow, and now that I'm actually older, I actually work in this building some days of the week. I'm a chef here in the kitchen, as well as 2 or 3 other places, but I cook all the time. I came back to this community last night, and I worked in here until about 6 o'clock this morning, making sure that you all had some good food in this kitchen. I do that every day. I take food that actually comes from the garden all the way up to the table. I try to teach that each and every day, teach people how to eat to live and not live to eat. So it's been a blessing and a pleasure for me to be able to come to this community whenever there's an opportunity and fix food for the community, every day. This center, as a matter of fact, this has been a blessing in itself to be able to have this building available for not just people from our community, because my community matters to me. And it actually has been a place where people can actually come here and get wisdom, knowledge, and understanding across the board, everywhere. Come to the Eddington Center, you can learn a lot of things.
The Eddington Center is a center that is geared towards education and career development. The center serves adults during the day with adult programming to gain skills to get better employment. I was born in Asheville, North Carolina, in a housing community known as Lee Walker Heights. I grew up in the Livingston Street community in the south side of Asheville. My mom worked 2 jobs, one being here located behind the Eddington Center in a child care facility. I worked closely with my grandmother as a kid, as she was an activist for voting rights. This location started to function back in the early 1900s when it was an African-American elementary school. Once the schools were desegregated, it became a Parks and Rec facility known as the W.C. Reed Center. And now, since its renovation, it's known as the Arthur Eddington Center, who was the last principal in the Livingston Street School. And so the dedication to him being that the building was going to be career education focused. We've had quite a few people come through this facility when it was a Parks and Rec facility and through its transformation. Shanika Smith, who grew up here and did programming when she was young, and now that she's city councilwoman. Terry Bellamy used to hang out here too, and it was the W.C. Reed Center, and she's our former mayor. We've had Leonard Little, who grew up here and played basketball. He was an NFL football player, retired now. Chef Hanan, who was the chef in the kitchen, local community elder, and she always makes sure everybody eats good and stuff. So many people that have been through here and still serve the community. My hopes is that we can get back to how things used to be. This is a thriving community, and where Black people owned their homes, owned businesses, and was really vibrant in this community. So I'd like to see that happen again, to kind of bring things back to how it used to be.
You've heard the expression, it takes a village to raise children. But then I come up doing that kind of, everybody looked out for each other. People were close together. I mean, people looked out for each other, And I say I miss that. I wish it was more like that, because at the time, people shared. People, if you was having a tough time and the neighbors could help you, they would, and that's what I miss. I would like to see that more of that today.
Everything but started over here on the south side for me. I got family over here. I know when I was young, you know, we had some officers on the force. They made sure everything was straight in the community, but now you got a lot of white people that don't live in this community that's coming around here trying to police this community, and they don't know what's going on. They lack an understanding of what everybody over here going through and how we going through it and how we trying to, you know what I'm saying, maintain our everyday lives with the struggles and everything that we go through. It's more like they just trying to put up statistics than actually protect and serve out here. You know what I'm saying? They cutting down a lot of trees now, so part of this policing thing they doing, they say it's inconvenient for the police to protect and serve these communities because they got all these trees in the neighborhood, and they say that people in these neighborhoods might hide drugs in these trees or run, you know what I'm saying? I miss a lot of the old folks that was here that used to guide the young folks. My daddy in particular, but you don't really have a lot of older role models around here no more. I mean, you still do, but it's just a lot of them done got locked up. A lot of them ain't here no more.
Since 1986, so that'll be 33 years I've been lived in the Southside, basically in the same house, same street, and everything over on Bartlett Street. My children were born here, raised a family here, and now I'm still living here. 1 block from my house, there was a new home that was built about 6 months ago. And I called and asked for what's the price of this new home. And they told me $420,000. I bought my home in 1986 for $50,000. So that's how much the price of housing has escalated here on the South Side. And most of the homes that are being built on the South Side are in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, which is pricing a lot of us out of the neighborhood. In other words, when you have $420,000 houses showing up in your neighborhood, that means your property tax goes up, everything about it, and so you get to the point, if you're on limited income or Social Security or pension, which I am, all of those three, they're not rising about 1% or 2% per year in inflation. And so slowly but slowly, I may be squeezed out of my neighborhood because I can't afford to live here.
It's been a significant change because when I was growing up, it was much smaller in terms of population. So you got to know the people in the neighborhood. You grew up with people that, through generations just stayed connected. And as things have changed, a lot of those people have moved away or been displaced, and it's not the same type of camaraderie that it was when I remember growing up.
What used to be a predominantly black neighborhood will end up being mixed for about 10 years, and then all of a sudden there'll be no blacks here if we're not very careful.
My father owned a business here, and it was on the train tracks, the business was. And every winter or fall, the Ringling Brothers Circus would come in town, and they would disembark behind my father's business. So every year that they would come, I would get an opportunity to go out and see the animals and play with the clowns and the staff from Ringling Brothers until they disembarked. And then as they did that, they would go to the Civic Center, which the procession of animals would come right by my house. So not only would I get to play with them and see them on the train track, I would sit in my yard, because they would always do it late at night because they were huge animals, and I'd sit in my yard and watch the elephants and giraffes and everything walk up my street.
Well, one of my favorite memories is that in September, I think it was the 2nd of 1992, the President of the United States came to my house over on Bartlett Street. And he came to my house because I had invited him to come to this neighborhood to talk to my kids. And that was back in June of that year. And in that Labor Day weekend, he basically showed up. They called and says, he remembers you asking him to come to your house. And he says he's ready to do it. Talk to your wife and talk to the family, and call us back in 24 hours. And if you say no, that's okay with us. If you say yes, then we will put everything in place. And I called him back and I said yes. I invited him, and so come back. And they says, well, I said, what do I have to do? They said, nothing. We got it from here.
Well, there's so many memories in Southside. My favorite memory is the number of non-traditional businesses that was in the Southside area, meaning hotels. There was a furniture store. There were apartment buildings owned by Negroes. Those are called non-traditional business affairs. Traditional are like beauty salons and barbershops. Sure, we've had loads of those, but the part that I like was the diversity in which Negroes owned businesses in the Southside area. There was a closeness among residents. Everybody knew everybody. People worked together, they played together. Very seldom was a dissension between families or individuals. It was just a neighborhood, community wherein people supported each other. Today, there is somewhat difference. We have a lot of white people in our neighborhoods now. Many white people are genuinely want to see changes, want things to be better between us. But we make it difficult sometimes for those people because if they've got to sit and think about what's politically correct to say to people, as they say, of color, and decide how I'm going to identify that person. That takes away from their spirit, their energy, and therefore you don't get the realness from them. We can, number one, respect each other, be honest with each other, talk with each other. If we respect each other and we talk with each other, conditions are going to get better between us. But as long as we're standoffish, as long as we're territorial, it makes it difficult for us to get together in a homogeneous way, wherein the love brings about the change. Unless there is feeling only comes from love, we will not make the progress that we so choose to.
In 1986 is when we opened up our facility for community service. We were one of the first in Buncombe County to start an after-school program. But I think we're kind of unique because we put more emphasis on academics and enrichment to try to help the students succeed in and out of school. Monday through Thursday, we have the first hour academics and homework, skills building to make sure that students are prepared for the next day at school. And then the last hour and 15 minutes, we have enrichment. The students get a chance to prepare healthy snacks. We do visual arts, painting, drawing, working on a mural project, and they have an opportunity to participate in our jazz band. Since 1986, a lot of students have gone through Delta House, and a lot of the teenagers and young adults came through Delta House. I taught school for 34 years, so I had an opportunity to teach some of their parents, the grandparents. The former mayor of Asheville City, Terry Bellamy, I taught her in 6th and 7th grade. Tamiko Murray used to come and tutor here. Her son, Logan, used to be a tutor here and help the students with saxophone. He's one of the best saxophone players I know in Buncombe County right now. So I hope one day he'll pick up his horn and come back. I can name a lot of them. I've even been to the hospital and some of my former students were waiting on me. Delta House has been a safe haven for students and their families and their parents. When students are hungry or don't have food, we have been providers. I've seen students and adults grow through the arts, especially band. And one of our members of the band is a parent, and she's also a parent coordinator. We spend a lot of time learning to appreciate each other, having respect for each other, and appreciating the different cultures. And that was one of the things that I enforced and encouraged my students when I taught art. Different cultures, we use some of the same symbols, but we might use it in a different way. So there's some interconnection between different cultures. And it's been a learning experience, and the arts keep me alive and surviving here.
I think the major challenge with our youth today in terms of the city is the city hasn't changed in terms of how it's, well, actually, let me back up a minute. Sure. The city has changed. Unfortunately, a lot of the youth that are interacting with different people within the city aren't treated with the respect and they don't receive the due diligence in terms of making sure that we have what we need in our communities for them to be thriving and for them to be vital and for them to feel like they are supported. And I'm not, yes I am. I'm saying that the city has talked about equity for a very long time, and it's time for them to stop talking about it and be about it, because our youth need that. The difference in now versus when I was a teenager, I could walk all over Asheville and I saw people who looked like me. I heard stories from people who looked like me, and I felt a lot of love from people who look like me. And now, as I move about as an adult and I watch these youth growing up, they don't get to see as many representations of themselves as I feel like they should. And the love and support that this city should have for the people of color who helped to build it isn't evident. And so I just want to see it grow. I want to see us mature to a place where we recognize that all of our citizens are important and that we're empowering our youth to be able to make their mark in the city and in the world. I was really trying to show some stability in how when we are stable, we allow things to flourish, right? And then from that flourishing, they move on to other, like hopefully you can see the yellow moves over here, green comes over to here, and the purple comes up here. It just kind of all makes a connection together. That's what community is about.